There are exactly 23 officially released playable NetNavi characters in the MegaMan TCG. That's really cool because that means there's tons of variety, tons of strategies, tons of approaches you can come up with to play against your opponent and win the game. However, if you're looking at the full roster of this game, you may notice that it's a bit of a sausage fest, that there aren't a whole lot of girl characters that you can play as. In fact, there's only one girl character you can pick, and that is the one and only Roll. Now, don't get it twisted. Just because Roll is the only girl character in this game doesn't mean she's bad, doesn't mean she's a joke, it certainly doesn't mean she's a pushover. In fact, in today's deck feature video, I'm going to show you exactly why, when built correctly, Roll is actually kind of a menace, and possibly one of the most dangerous net navies in the game. So that's what today's video is all about. If it's your first time to the channel or you're coming back, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video, please. All right, let's just jump right into it. This is Roll. She's a 1/2/2, and she has a cool little effect where whenever you play a battle chip, she gets an extra +2 in defense. So that's kind of her deal. Her emblem colors, her default colors are yellow and blue. So that's going to be a yellow and blue deck for us today. And really the strategy behind her is to, 1, control and mitigate the opponent and make sure to keep them in check. 2, to set up really high blast destinies and punch back and do a lot of damage. And 3, turn some of the innate defensive abilities into a strong offense from time to time. So those are the 3 goals of the deck. I'm going to quickly show you the build, the deck list, and I'm going to show you how everything kind of like works with one another. So obviously we're going to be playing 1 copy of our NetNavi. This is Roll. I'm going to be playing her. I'll just put her in the middle over here. Let's go over some of the yellow resources to start off with. So for this deck, we're going to be using 4 of her net op. So we're going to be playing 4 Melus. We're also going to be playing her other emblem card, her other yellow emblem card, 4 Roll Blasts. Really powerful cards, so you definitely want to play 4 of those. 4, it's an emergency. And we're also going to be playing 4 Friendly Miss Mary. So those are our yellow resources for this deck. Next up, we've got some blue resources, so let's go over those really quickly. We're going to be playing 4 copies of her other emblem card. That's 4 Data Scan. We're also going to be playing 4 Surprise Transfer. We're going to be playing 4 Shrimpy 2, the Virus. And we're also going to be playing 4 Channeling. That's her other blue emblem card. And we're also going to be playing 3 green resources, Gender Differences. This just gives us the option, the ability, I should say, to tap into our discard pile and pick up any combo pieces that we might need. So we usually play these in almost every deck. Not necessarily every deck, but in this deck, we definitely want to play it. So we're also going to be playing some events. We're going to be playing 4 of her Ultra Rare from the Power Up set. This is Underestimated. We're also going to be playing 4 Modest Defense. And we're going to be playing 4 Flush Out Your Opponent. Those are our events. Next up, we've got some battle chips. So we're going to be playing 4 of her battle chip, her signature battle chip. That's the 4 Bubblers. Make sure it's all spaced out correctly. We're going to be playing 4 Bug Bombs. This is actually the star of the deck. I'll get into that in a couple of seconds. So play 4 of those. And last but not least, we're playing 4 High Cannon. So that's the deck. Let's go over everything and explain how everything works. So I mentioned just a couple of seconds ago that Bug Bomb is really the start of the deck, and it is. So let's just take a quick look at this. It's a 6 Destiny. It's a blue-yellow requirement. You need nothing in your power gauge, and very straightforwardly, when you play this card, your opponent cannot play events or battle chips, and then when you play this card, it goes into your power gauge right after. So this is a really cool card. It's one of my favorably designed cards in the game, and it really goes well with Roll just naturally. It just fits, so I wanted to build a deck around it. And so the idea with Bug Bomb is, 1, it really helps with our first goal of like keeping the opponent in check. So you can play the Bug Bomb on their turn if you think they're getting a little out of hand and they're trying to go off of their combos. Maybe they're playing lots of events. You can just stop them dead in their tracks by playing the Bug Bomb. And not only are you playing that to stop them, but because of Roll's effect, you also get a nice +2 defense. So if you're going against a NetNavi that's doing passive damage to you, you can kind of block them off at the same time and keep yourself alive for a little longer. And of course, the cherry on the top of this card is it puts itself in the power gauge, which sets you up for a really beautiful big blast the next turn. So really cool. Obviously, you can also play this on your own turn, because doing so means your opponent cannot react with their events or battle chips. So that's also definitely an option that we want to leverage from time to time. So Bug Bomb is definitely the centerpiece of the deck, and for that reason, we've got a decent split between yellow and blue resources to facilitate this. So that's kind of why that's kind of structured that way. In terms of keeping the opponent in control, we're going to be doing that with the Bug Bombs, but we're also going to be using the Bubblers. Obviously, the Bubbler gives us a nice 8 defense. It says +4, but the reality is with her effect, it's +2. So on top of the 2 she has by default, we get an 8 defense. That's a good solid wall to block off, you know, little moderate. Obviously, if the person's playing like a Boys Bomb 3 or something major, it might not do that, but like that's not something we want to worry about too much. It stops most other cards too. So like this is a really cool defensive card just to keep them in check. And obviously some of the ways we're really disrupting the opponent is through our events. So we're going to be using 4 Flush Out Your Opponent. This straightforwardly just puts 2 resources to their owner's hand, so you can just bounce their stuff back on your turn or at the end of their turn. If you're about to go crazy and you want them to get in the way, you can also use it on your own stuff so that if you just need room on your board, you can take back stuff so that you can make room for other stuff. So it has that flexibility. We're also playing 4 Modest Defense. This gets your opponent to reveal their hand, and you place a revealed battle chip in your opponent's discard pile. So this is our kind of way of getting the Boys Bomb 3s out of their hand, getting rid of the Life Aura, all those like really menacing like battle chips that can really screw things up. We want to get rid of those. We can just proactively like just fish for it. The cool thing about this is even if you don't end up getting a battle chip, you do get information on what's in their hand, and that just means you can be a lot more precise in terms of how to push back against them. So I really like this. It's really cool, and for that reason, we're going to be playing 4 copies. The other card that we're playing to kind of control the opponent, kind of push back, is her ultra rare. This is Underestimated. You need 3 emblems on the board to use it, 3 in the power gauge. You burn 3 power, and then whenever you're about to lose an energy, you recharge that energy instead, and you can do it up to 5 times. So if they're coming at you, maybe they went for a blast, or maybe they played a battle chip, you could just use this from time to time to just recharge instead of take damage. It's got that ability. But the other cool thing about this card is it works with cards like Gender Differences and Surprise Transfer, because these cards need you to lose 2 energy to activate. So you can actually combo Underestimated to recharge 2 energy instead of lose. It's not like something that comes up too often, but you do have that option. Sometimes you've got Surprise Transfer and Gender Differences on board, and you can just do Underestimated to just kind of recharge 2 per card and, you know, just get the effect without paying for it necessarily. So that's kind of cool. I like that. And yeah, those are kind of the cards we're playing to kind of keep the opponent under control. The other cards that we're playing are really to help us with goal number 2, which is to like blast for high destiny, like get really nice high numbers. And so obviously the Bug Bomb is the key to doing that. The Bug Bomb lets us get a nice 6. That's our highest number in the deck. And because it kind of positions itself just by using it, we don't necessarily have to like find ways to like set it up on our own. However, if we do need to like get it back into the power gauge, maybe because it's in the discard pile, or maybe we just don't have the emblem, you know, we don't have the right colors on board to like activate it, there's tons of ways we can manipulate that so that there's always a Bug Bomb in one of our like in our power gauge somehow. So let's look at the cards that help us do that. Let's start on the yellow side. So on the yellow side, we've got Meilu, right? So Meilu, whenever you play another role card, you can look at the cards in your power gauge and replace them in any order. So that's really cool, really powerful. We can just get really precise in setting our high destiny cards where we want them and taking some of those low like destinies like 1s and 2s and just moving them places where we can expect to maybe burn them for costs like for the high cannon or other stuff. So that's really cool. That's the one thing that Meilu does really good. It just gives us like that information of what's in our power gauge. The other really cool card is Roll Blast. This is you burn 2 power and then you note which has the lower destiny, and then you take that many random cards from your discard pile and you put them in your power gauge. So as you can imagine, comboing it with Meilu and playing Roll Blast, you can just get really precise and make sure you're not shooting in the dark and set yourself up so that you're actually getting, you know, 4 or 5 cards in your power gauge by just shuffling high destiny cards into the position for where this is going to be burning. So that's the big strategy over there with Meilu and Roll Blast. That's the combo. We're also playing It's an Emergency and Miss Mary. This lets you burn a power to place a card from your discard pile in your power gauge. So you can just take back your power instead of like guessing for what card is you're going to burn or what you're going to blast. You can just place your Bug Bomb using this. That's cool. I like it. You just drop it and you can just get a Bug Bomb back into your power gauge. And the same goes for Friendly Miss Mary. It's literally, it's an emergency on crack. It just does it twice. You know, it burn 2 and take 2 cards from your discard pile into your power gauge. So you can take 2 bug bombs and just set those up. So we're always getting 6s, or we're always getting 5s, or just whatever we need for our roll blast, or whatever we need for just blasting. Like, that's what these cards let us do. Like, they just let us like blast very intentionally and not quite shoot in the dark. We also have some cards on the blue side that help us do that. So we've got Data Scan. This places all your resources in play, including itself, into your power gauge. So this is really cool. If you're blasting, sometimes the sucky part about that is you got to take time to recharge, but Roll has a lot of cards that just let you power up very fast. So Data Scan is one of them. You can just take whatever resources are on your board and you just place them in your power gauge, and you got a full power gauge, you know, without really trying to do anything, without working for it. We also got Force Surprise Transfer. You lose 2 energy and you place a card from hand in your power gauge. So again, it's just intentionally placing cards in our power gauge, just knowing what's there. And you can put the Bug Bomb, you can put whatever you need. And yeah, you know what's going to be there. And then we also have 4 Channeling. You know, this is, you place 2 cards from hand in your power gauge. So it's another roll card. It's cool. It's a little bit, you got to play a little later because it's 4 power gauge requirement. But again, same kind of principle as Surprise Transfer. We can put cards in our hand into our power gauge and just know what's there. So we're intentional about what we're burning and what we're blasting, right? So that's kind of like, those are the cards there to help us with setting up high blast counts. The other strategy that we're aiming for is we're trying to turn our defense into offense from time to time. So the Bubbler card is really powerful because it gets us up to an 8 defense, right? But sometimes defense isn't enough. Like, defense doesn't necessarily win you the games, it just kind of stalls. So the way we want to play this deck is we want to be able to use our stall and turn it into something that can punch back from time to time. And we do that using Shrimpy 2. They both share the same picture, so I guess it makes sense that they work together. So Shrimpy 2 is very, like, the way it works is, first of all, it's a virus. So unlike other resources, when you play this, you can play as many Shrimpy 2s. There isn't a uniqueness to viruses. So you play Shrimpy 2 and you can play other Shrimpy 2s from your deck onto the board as long as you have the open resource slots. So ideally you play 1 and you get the other 3. You want to generally get 3 or 4 Shrimpy 2s on your board. And the reason why is because of its effect. The effect is you burn a power to add your Net Navi's defense to your Blast Destiny. So pretty, I think that you can put 2 and 2 together, right? Your Bubbler giving you 8 defense. The Shrimpy 2 can take that 8 defense and add it on as extra muscle to punch back for big damage, right? So the ideal situation is you want to have a full power gauge of 5 cards, and then you want to have 3 to 4 Shrimpy 2s on board. What you'll want to do is you want to bounce back the cards that your opponent has in their resources. So you use to flush out your opponent to just clear out their board, make sure there's no interference with your combo. Next, you're going to play Shrimpy 2. You're going to play the Bubbler. You're going to get your 8 defense. Then, because you've got a power gauge of 5 cards, you blast for 2. Hopefully you hit a 6 or a 5. Obviously you should be hitting high because you've been manipulating a power gauge the whole time. And then you use your Shrimpy 2 to burn a power to add the 8 to your strength. And then you burn another power with the other Shrimpy 2 to add a strength. And if you think you can win the game, you can use the last Shrimpy 2 to just add the extra 8 damage. But otherwise, if you're not going to necessarily win the game, you want to try to keep 1 or 2 Shrimpy 2s on the board so that you can use cards later and you're not totally like depleted of resources, right? So that's the cool thing about Shrimpy 2. It just lets us turn this defense into an offense and punch back and win the game sometimes, right? So those are the big combos in the deck. I didn't really explain High Cannon, so let me just do that really quickly to end the video. So I'm including 4 copies of High Cannon because we definitely just want to have some muscle. I just felt like having this as it is wasn't enough. So I included 4 High Cannons just for safe measure. You know, this just gives you +1 for each resource in play. You're going to have a lot of resources on your side and your opponent is probably going to have them as well. So you're potentially getting 4, 6, maybe 8 damage from this card. It's also a 4 Destiny, which is awesome. And yeah, like, because you've got the viruses, that also just makes it easier to have a high resource count to like go off. So it's just some extra muscle. Not to mention, if you do need the 2 defense for roll, you can play it technically on the opponent's turn. It does even work with Shrimpy 2 in the sense that you don't necessarily need Bubbler to go off with Shrimpy 2. You can use the high cannon to give yourself a nice boost on strength, but you also get the +2 defense because of Roll's effect, which means Shrimpy 2 can tack on 4 extra damage depending on how many of them you use, right? Same goes for Bug Bomb. Just because Bug Bomb doesn't give you a boost doesn't mean it doesn't give you a boost indirectly. It does so through defense, which you can again also use with Shrimpy 2. So that's pretty much the deck. So it does those 3 things. Just to kind of recap, it's all about controlling and mitigating the opponent. It's all about setting up high blast destinies, mainly using the Bug Bomb. And of course, from time to time, we can turn our innate defensive abilities of Bubbler by using Shrimpy 2 to turn that into damage in terms of like adding it to our blast destiny. So Roll, my opinion, is definitely no pushover. She's really cool and she's really powerful, and I love the way this deck works. If you took a first glance at her and thought, she's just a girl, she's not that good, I would seriously reconsider that, because she's actually quite dangerous and I think one of my favorite decks. So hopefully today's video has been inspiring. It gave you some ideas on your own deck building. And yeah, I will look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care for now. Bye.